Welcome to episode 6 of the Scale Model Podcast. My name is Stuart Clark. In this podcast, I aim to entertain, inform, and hopefully promote the hobby of scale model kit building with interviews, reviews, and news about the scale model hobby. Well, welcome back. A ton of news this week in the last 2 weeks in the model world, for those of you keeping track. So we have quite a bit today, but I'm really pleased to have our guest is going to be Anthony Goodman from Goodman Models, and he's also a fellow member of our local IPMS chapter here in London, Ontario. Anthony's been interested in models as far as back as he can remember. His dad's an HO scale model railroader, and he caught the bug from him. Many Saturday mornings were spent at Niagara Central Hobbies during his early and teen years. He's a model maker interested in all sorts of vehicles, loves Japanese sci-fi animations from when he was a kid, especially Macross, Robotech, Gundam, but does enjoy all subjects from armor to aircraft. Anthony, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Stuart. I'm glad to be here.
Well, again, you are no stranger to being interviewed by me. I've actually got a video from I keep wanting to say the London Scale Model Show. Of course, it's not now. It's the Southwestern Ontario.
Yep. Model Expo.
Model Expo. Thank you.
Has a nice ring to it.
Has a nice ring. I just got to remember to start saying it. I know I did some video there. And we interviewed you because you had a booth. You had a booth there with your sanding pads and all that. I'm just looking at your intro here, Niagara Central Hobbies. I remember years ago, someone did some sort of amazing diorama. I know it was Niagara Central, but they did actually a diorama of the hobby shop. And it was either Buffalo or it was Niagara Central.
Niagara Central was known as the hobby shop.
Okay, but they actually someone did a diorama of the shop, including the miniature Tamiya boxes.
Oh, wow.
Like something from the 70s. Yeah, I just when I read that, I just remember
it was a great place. It was really
that's what I heard.
Shame to see it go. It was kind of it had two sections to it. Mm-hmm. In the front was trains, and you could touch the window, and it had a little layout, and it would go right when you connected. And the other half was like art supplies, like
that sort of thing. Exactly. And that's the way a lot of the stores were.
Yeah, and it was legendary.
Yep, exactly. Kind of probably similar to our McCormick's here in London.
Yeah,
legendary, long-time owners.
Exactly. It was kind of that foundation, for model builders through this.
So what did happen to them? Did they retire?
The owner, from what I understood, the owner he was getting close to wanting to. Somebody's having tea.
That's all right.
The owner was getting close to retiring, and I think he was trying to sell it as is, like with all the stock and everything connected, and just couldn't find a buyer.
That's tough. I think
the competition was really intense.
We could do a whole episode. And one day I want to do a long-term, episode. I'm hoping, like yourself, I want to interview people in all sizes of business in the hobby, just because times are changing, and not necessarily for worse, not necessarily for better.
It's
and
different,
you can adapt.
Though, isn't it?
It's different. You have to adapt. Any other business.
I did have those fond memories, right? You don't
exactly
get that
it's
just
tough to
shopping
do.
online.
Yep, exactly, and that's why, I still support my local hobby store. So anyway, we're going to jump right into the news because there was an absolute ton of news, and just so you know, we're actually recording this tonight in Anthony's modeling cave. Nice little setup. I'll probably, if he lets me, I'll take a few pictures.
Sure, absolutely.
We'll throw it up in the show notes. And we are drinking, so
you know what?
That could go very, very well.
Hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
Yep.
You just
Cheers.
had Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. So this could go very, 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 very good or very, very badly. We'll see what happens. Also, we should do a shout out to our friends in Australia on the bench. They actually beat us to the punch this week because there is so much news out here. But again, as usual, a good day and a hello to those guys. So let's move right into it. About 11 days ago, there was something called the All Japan Model and Hobby Show. This is kind of an industry show. I'd forgotten about this until I started seeing some announcements about it. And the big announcement, if you're a modeler, and particularly an aircraft modeler, unless you've been living under a rock, is Walnut Wings, and that's of Peter Jackson's fame, who does just some simply amazing World War I aircraft, and these are museum quality, just gorgeous. I've seen a couple of them. Well, they've decided to expand a little bit. They're actually going to be producing a Second World War bomber, namely the Lancaster, in 1/32nd scale. There's going to be 2 models. There's going to be the Dam Busters one with the upkeep bomb and all that, and also a regular standard
Mark 1 and 3. I think,
Mark 1 and 3, exactly. So this is 1/32nd scale. The main thing about this is this kind of beats Hong Kong models have been they pretty well had at the show. They had the final released version. Like it's if it's not shipping already, it's about to.
I think you can do pre-orders. I see
Pre-orders are out, and I know some people have already got some review ones. We've got some links there, so it's like coming out within weeks. So they really kind of did the equivalent of pulling the rug out from under all that press that Hong Kong Models has, because there's a lot of people now who want to build this. If you have the room, I personally do not.
It's a big bird.
It's a very big bird, 1 meter wingspan, I believe 80 centimeters in length. So there's a lot of people now who originally were having their credit card in hand. Now they're kind of having to make that decision because, Wingnut Wings, they do just some amazing stuff. Like we're talking, yeah, we're going to have pictures in the show notes and all that, and just some absolutely amazing detail, quality, things like that. Now, there's still some advantages from what we know so far. Like the Hong Kong Models kit does have, some of the initial runs are going to have a clear fuselage with an option. So you could, if you want to super detail the whole inside and stuff like that, great. You can do that and still show the outside. So I'm actually going to move up. Originally, we're going to talk about the Hong Kong model one a little bit later on, but I'm actually going to move that up a bit, and we're going to talk about it now because Large Scale Modeler did get themselves a advanced copy, and there's a fairly good lengthy review there in their forum, and they're a well-respected modeling site for the aircraft modelers.
It looks pretty rich.
It's very nice, and again, they have that option of the clear fuselage. Cool. And I remember talking about this idea a while ago, because wouldn't that be a great idea? Especially there's a lot of times people are building these bigger planes, they detail the heck out of them, and then sadly they're all closed up.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
yeah. So I would like to see this more. So it's an interesting concept, but so it's really So now we're going to have two very large scale Lancasters. The other thing about this, the rumors say that their Walnut Wings will have this in late 2019. Hong Kong Models has been kind of sitting. They've been announced. They've been teasing us for quite a while. Yeah. And sometimes that can blow up in your face. I think we've seen a perfect example of.
They really they took their time, I guess, or probably not intentionally. I'm sure it's complicated to get a kit out to market. Yeah. But they teased it and then didn't produce.
Yeah. Well, or was it late for that reason? Like we also have the issue with AMK. Is it AMK and their 148 scale Tomcat?
Yeah.
They've been doing, and again, Tamiya came in.
Yeah.
And now, and now there's another vendor. We'll talk about that. So anyway, I've got links in the show notes to both of these. These are just, some absolutely beautiful. Either of them are absolutely beautiful. One thing people are talking about is the whole stress skin.
I think it looks amazing.
It does.
Quite the effect.
It does. And I've been reading some other blogs, and people really like that idea, where apparently people said before it couldn't be done in the industry, and I think we've just seen now that it can be done. And
absolutely.
Yeah. So again, no idea pricing. We've heard rumors from $500. I've heard rumors of $400. Like it's not going to be cheap.
I can see Stuart. I can see on a pre-order for the HK Lang $329.
Right.
$329 American dollars.
Yeah. Well, the Wingnut's going to be more.
Yeah.
It's just for the quality.
They
and
do
stuff
make
like
a
that.
really fantastic
beautiful kit.
So the depth of detail is so incredible. And
exactly.
I think they're also. I haven't built one myself, but I have a friend who has built them. And they just go together nicely. And
That's
so
what
it's a pleasurable experience. What you want. You don't be frustrated.
It's a fine detail. It's like working on the old wooden ships pretty well. That's what I've been hearing. We've got one guy in the club working on one too. So we've been kind of keeping an eye on his build. So two very big announcements there. But it really shows sometimes in the model kit industry. Sometimes you maybe don't want to. You maybe want to do like what Apple does. And don't announce anything until just before you're going to ship.
Yeah. You got to be ready to pull the trigger.
Because I'm sure when that announcement happened at Scale Model World, I'm sure in the Hong Kong Models booth and in the office there was quite a bit of swearing.
Oh, I'm sure they were frustrated
if they didn't know already, because that will cost sales. Let's not deny it. But again,
it might be in their best interest though to have a lower price model. It might be in the reach of
exactly.
Of the average buyer, right?
and this is what we can talk about. For example, we were talking a bit about the Revell, or not the Revell, sorry, the F-14 from
Tamiya.
Tamiya had that. They beat them to the punch there, and then Great Wall Hobbies apparently is working on one.
Yeah.
And the Great Wall Hobbies one, according to, I've just seen some people talking about it, and there's a link on ScaleMates to it. Apparently, it's going to have more details and more options than the Tamiya. So the idea with, you'll have leading edge slats, flaps, you could, mount the way you want. And for some modelers, that's what they want. But again, they've both pretty well beaten, now we don't know when the other one's being released, but the AMK one's been teased for a long time and they've had trouble releasing it, right? Like they're a little bit of, they're like a bit of the running joke. I know years ago, the computer gamers, everyone used to laugh about Duke Nukem. They were supposed to release this game, and it took like 10 years. And when it came out, it sucked. It absolutely sucked in the end. Behind, so again, I think we're going to start seeing more and more. You maybe won't see these cases of these guys starting to do these, great announcements. Oh, it's going to be a year. Yeah. Because if you're not careful, someone else can beat this from under you. Now, I do heard Walnut Wings, it's taken them 7 or 8 years to get to this point.
Yeah, but they kept it under their hat.
They've kept it under their hat. Yeah.
Now,
well, apparently, but it all makes sense too because Walnut Wings is created and owned by Peter Jackson. He did Lord of the Rings and all that, and he is working on, not actively right now, but he is working on doing a remake of the Dam Busters.
Yeah, that's been sort of mired in a little bit of.
Well, it's a little bit. Yeah, a little bit as well. He's got some other projects he's been working on, so it's been kind of put on hold. Now, they did say that they didn't, because they're using a lot of CGI.
Yeah.
For the movie, they didn't use the CGI models for the CAD cams for the kit.
Really?
I thought that's where it came from. People were asking, and they said no, completely separate thing. But I'm sure Peter had a say in it.
Yeah.
Because
he's hands-on, right?
Yeah, he's very hands-on. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting kit. So anyway, as I said, check out those. ScaleMate's got some interesting things. I like what they're doing with the on the F-14 on the canopy.
Oh,
it's like a 2-part little thing on. Yeah, that would be interesting.
It's I've seen this before. This is brilliant. What an amazing, cutting edge technology where they have the frame, the canopy frame is a separate piece from the canopy. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I think that again, it's one of those things you go, why didn't I think of that?
Maybe it was hard to do. I bet it was really hard to do from a technological standpoint.
And
but
we're probably
now they've got it. I have a kit I'll pull out to show you of the VF4 Lightning kit.
Okay.
That just came out this past year by Wave, and they have that. And I've never seen it before. It was unbelievable.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's a great advancement. It's going to make just that part of the process so much easier, enjoyable.
And that's what it comes down to. Sometimes when you have that, if they can do things, same thing like people buy photo etch or masking, sets and stuff like that. So let's go back to the model show for a minute. There was also a bunch of other releases. Some of these happened before the Wingnut Wings announcement, so of course then it kind of got lost. Hasegawa had quite a few. Their egg planes are very, very popular. So they have a YF-19 from Macross Plus. Now here's one you might find interesting. A company called Max Factory.
Yes.
They're releasing a VF1 Valkyrie. So that's like the size of an F-14, but 1/20th. And
it's unbelievable.
I had to go back and double check. I couldn't believe that.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I have no plans of ever getting that. It's like $3,000.
Is it? Okay. Yeah.
But it's a full plastic injection kit.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that. Yeah, it's absolutely huge, and
it looks really good too. Like they sort of captured the proportions, and but that's unbelievable.
Now I guess they did 1/20th because they do figures. I guess some figure sets are in 1/20th.
I have no idea what spurred this because even Max Factory, I'm not sure. I'm not aware of them doing any other.
Okay.
Part of the property,
right?
Like the Valkyries were. I know the licenses have been traded around in the past 30 years. Like Bondi has. A license to do certain series of Valkyries.
Right.
Hasegawa is doing, a lot of the Valkyries in 72nd and 48th scale, and it's quite different who gets the license and works what angle they're working.
Well, and one thing I've learned from both yourself when you presented at the club and other people, the Gundam stuff is just huge. Absolutely.
Yeah, huge. And see, that's all Bondi. Bondi just controls.
But like the fighting robots, the whole sci-fi. When you look at some of these shows here. You can see that. I'm actually looking here. There's a link, and they mention it's designed to look even better paired with its accompanying figure kits from the Macross series.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they must be doing some stuff like that.
I know there was a couple like the characters done up in 1/20th scale that like I guess figure modeling, that kind of aspect.
Right.
And I have heard in the past where the whole idea of sharing licenses I know it's occurred with there was a series called SF3D, or it was called Maschinenkrieger.
Okay.
Where and that came out sort of in the 80s, and it was like a sort of a photo modeling essay that came on Hobby Japan magazine.
Right.
And what had happened when I read a little bit about this was that the creator they wanted to do model kits, and they couldn't do it. So they ended up teaming up with another model company.
Okay.
So there was Nitto, and then they decided to do Nitto, you're going to do all the 1/20th stuff. And then this other company, we're going to get them to do the 1/35th scale stuff. And so they didn't, they were trying to like just sort of economy of scale, right? They were working together, but trying to carve out different niches in their markets, right? I wonder if that's similar to
Well, you know, as you say, there's certainly a lot of different kits. Like I'm looking at some of these 72nd scale airplanes, and from different series, like a Draken 3 with jamming Macross Delta 1/72nd scale. It looks pretty cool.
So Delta is the current.
Is that the current series?
Yeah, it came out last year, so a lot of hype about that. And
all right,
so they're still putting out a lot of those.
So obviously, a lot of kits coming out from that. So yeah, that's one example from Hasegawa. Tamiya had a lot of nice stuff at the booth. No real surprises. They did have the actual their new tool 1/48 scale Spitfire Mark 1 from Tamiya, and it looks very nice for a Mark 1 model. It's a retool of their original one. The kit's been around for a while. The pictures I saw looks very nice. If it's anything like some of the other Tamiya 1/48 scale aircraft, it's going to just fall together. Very, very popular. So I think that'll be good to see. I did find a site. I believe it was an Italian site actually, and they had some nice pictures of it. They'll include parts to recreate various specifications while providing open and closed canopy options, realistic cockpit detailing, photo etch parts, etc., etc. 3 marking options. They still haven't got a release date for it, but they did have the entire sprue shot, some samples of how it looks like when it's going together. So yeah, looks like it's going to be a very nice kit. Moving on a bit, was there anything that you noticed anything that jumped out at you from there?
Well, I think the big news is the Wang.
Yeah, I think that's the big one from the show, definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, even to have 2 options. I mean,
like we have no shortage of modelers for options.
It's not a bad thing.
No, people that say the hobby's dying, like no, it's not. So anyway, I've included some more links, a bunch of different links and photos from the show. If there's anything you think we've missed, please feel free to leave us a comment. And
was there also the
blog or the Facebook page? Well, I did want to point out there was a couple of other ones that they had. They had a where did I put it here? I don't think I actually put the link in here yet. I have to do that for the ship modelers.
Yeah, the Verifier, right?
Yeah, the 1/350th Battleship Montana. This was a battleship that was originally planned, and it was never built because they decided, by the second half of the war, they needed carriers more. Battleships were dying, but this was designed to take on, the big Japanese battleships for Yamato and that. I think originally 4 were ordered. I think they started to lay down one, and they just didn't get far. This company actually is apparently quite well known and regarded. They built the Montana already in 1/700 scale. They've actually built for the Missouri. They've built a 1/350th, and they've also released a 350 called an Easy version, which apparently doesn't have all the bells and whistles.
That's an idea.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. I confess I hadn't heard of the company before this. But I have talked to some ship people, and they say, no, they make some very nice stuff.
Yeah, they have the Montana, the Iowa, Missouri.
Yeah.
Sounds like a few ships in their roster.
So they basically had they had this show as well, showing it off. No release date yet, but they're saying soon.
Looks
good one
great.
to look at as well. Yeah, I think that's going to be a good possibility. Okay, moving on, getting away from all that news and all that show stuff, because, just insane. Couple of things which I found interesting. How often, you build armor kits? I see you've got a...
Yeah, it's my first one.
Yeah, you got one there, but apparently something that people haven't got is a crane. For how do you lift the turret out of your Panther tank when you... So what's curious is 2 companies have come out with one kind of at the same time.
That's right.
Tacom's got this 35th scale. It's this. I'm even going to try and pronounce it.
Strabokron.
Okay.
Heavy crane.
16-ton heavy crane. So they've released this one, 1943-44 production, 135th. So the idea is, and they've got the box art shows it lifting up a turret off a Panther. So this would be kind of handy for, those guys that have the, they build all the interiors of the tank. This is a way to maybe show off
lots of possibilities for dioramas or little vignettes, right? Yeah, that'd be great. Like
exactly.
The turret
and they used this thing during the war to lift all sorts of things. It was mobile too, which is what people like. Now the other interesting thing is right around the same time, Amusing Hobbies came out, and they announced this at the show as well. They had a 16-ton crane as well, but it also comes with an SDK KFZ 184 Ferdinand, which is like a big old assault gun, very big thing. So you actually get this and the tank in one box. And what's interesting is the Ferdinand, I guess, is a tank destroyer, but it comes with a full interior. And what we were talking before, clear roof parts.
Oh, that's neat.
So again, you have that option. And again, they've got some good examples there. So for the diorama makers, this is some pretty cool stuff. Both manufacturers I know make very nice stuff. I'm looking at some of the shots here, and they're very nice looking. The screws are nice and thin, and stuff like that. I know Amusing's made a bunch of different things over the years. So yeah, that's going to be another interesting one for the tank guys.
Absolutely.
Okay. Bunch of stuff new, some other new stuff. To me, almost every month they have what's new on their website. One of the things I noted is they've now got a paint retarder for their new lacquer line of paints. For those of you using those, we talked about those before. They're basically in the bottom, but what's neat about them is they're like what I call the oil-based paints, like the traditional.
There's lots of good buzz around the
lots
lacquers,
of good buzz. One thing people like is the lacquers are apparently, they do a nicer finish, apparently a gloss. They're tougher.
Yeah.
They say.
Yeah.
My own personal thing is I'm quite content with the existing stuff, but one advantage I know which a lot of people like is all the lacquers now, they match the color on the spray cans. So if you have a Ferrari red on a spray can, before the gloss red, the traditional X whatever gloss wasn't the match. Now these things match the spray bombs.
Oh, really?
So they're really appealing to some of the car guys.
I do love the lacquer, but I like the Gunsy.
Yep.
The Mr. Color, that's what I'm...
Yep. But they're doing. They've
though.
Actually got quite a few now on the line. They keep releasing every couple of months. They release a couple more.
Yeah.
In the lacquer range. So this is the paint retarder. Comes in a small little jar.
Yeah, that's a really nice thing to have. So I have it for the acrylic.
Yep, and I use that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and it if you're doing any brush painting, it's a must.
It's a must. Yeah, exactly. So this will be good for the lacquer, and I even find sometimes, depending on what you're doing, putting a drop in when you're shooting through the airbrush too.
Oh yeah.
I know some people use some people use the Mr. Thinner.
Yeah.
That's the holy grail. That
works
so well with Tamiya.
Also a big fan of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I will use it with the
Tamiya
Mr. Acrylics.
Yeah, exactly. It works really well. But yeah, I have the retarder for both. I have the retarder for the traditional acrylic, but yeah, now they have that out.
Yeah. I bet they are not compatible, so you have to have. If you're doing acrylic paints, you got to have the acrylic.
So I can certainly see it for the I don't have any of the lacquers left, so I haven't been able to try it, but I can certainly if you're brush painting, you need something like that.
Yeah, and there's always some details, even if you're doing the whole kit with an airbrush, or if you're even using a rattle can for like a car body. There's always little details you want to pick out or something. You need that retarder. Yeah,
exactly. So another thing with Tamiya is they're starting to introduce. Can you believe it's been 50 years since they introduced the 1/35th scale military miniature series? Wow. So they set the benchmark.
50 years.
50 years. We're all getting old.
Wow, that is impressive.
I was 1 year old, so that's how old I am. So 68.
It's a little bit older than me.
Yeah, you're just a puppy. That's all right. So they're releasing a couple of different special editions over the years. So they had a Panzer IV, and they've also got the German Panther Ost FD special edition. So this is one of the original kits they produced. In fact, the one I've been working on is one of the original 70s mold. So they've redone this completely. It's packaged with. It also comes with a metal gun barrel, link tracks, photo etch grills. So they're basically upgrading the kit to it, plus some marking, figures and stuff like that. So they're going to be releasing these during the year. They've said a couple. As I said, they had the Panther in this one. They had the. They also had a Panzer IV, I believe. They just released as well. So again, another good release from Tamiya. I love their armor stuff. It just their stuff just falls together.
They make nice kits that they're a pleasure to build.
Yep.
For the most part. And
exactly.
And they're plentiful. You got lots of subjects.
Lots of subjects. I know, and I know some people, the purists, like will say it doesn't accurately depict this or the other. I wouldn't be able to tell. I'm not a tank guy. If it was a Spitfire, it was a different story, but I'm not a tank guy, and they go together well.
It seems like you can enjoy it on a couple different levels, right? If you really want to pursue it and start to change the shapes and try and look at profiles, and that's one way. But it's time consuming, and it can be.
Well, it's like we've said about different, like we said about the Lancaster or the Tomcat. There's different skill levels. Some people just want to throw something simple without a lot of extra detail.
It's also a representation, so maybe it's a bit more simplistic, or they gloss over a few things.
And there's, not to say, some of the other manufacturers, they make some amazing stuff, but it's a lot more work. Some of the Dragon kits. Yeah. Some of the Dragon kits use 10 parts, which to me will have it too.
Yeah. Yeah, they've engineered them to be a bit more.
If you're into that, hey, great. Enjoy yourself. But some of us, no. Also news this week, Revell Germany, they've now signed an agreement with Bandai. They're now the worldwide distributor for
that's
Bandai.
Exciting. I hadn't heard of
Star Wars kits. Yeah, so they
actually hard to come by.
They were hard. There was licensing issues in the States and stuff like that. So you're going to be able to get this now. So the big one is, the first announcement they've got is they've re-released the Perfect Grade Millennium Falcon.
Wow.
The big monster, 1/72, 680 parts. In the Revell catalog out of Germany, it's about 400 euros. Euro's about $1.50 Canadian right now.
Is
so
it? Yeah.
It's a big kit, but again,
$700.
I've seen the reviews for it. If you're into the Falcon and that, this is like the Lancaster.
It's the penultimate version.
This is like the Walnut Wings Lancaster. You get this.
I think I'm gonna have to settle for a 1 to 1/44 fine molds if I can even find.
Yeah, if you can find one. So so they announced that. They say there's gonna be some other stuff coming out. So that's good. They're working with Bandai. Maybe this means also, I wonder if that means Revell's going to be doing some of the Gundam lines from Bandai or something. Yeah,
I know a lot of that stuff is licensed
already.
Like it's not too. That was a very specific thing where those kits were not allowed to be sold outside the Japanese market.
You couldn't get them in North America because the original U.S. Revell had it. The license,
but they were different kits.
They were different kits completely. They were more of an easier snap tight. You couldn't bring in the nice. What the ones the fans wanted, right?
Yeah, proper detailed,
But of course, with Revell having the bankruptcy and that, they've been bought up now. So Revell Germany and Revell US, they're under the same ownership now. There's quite a bit of history there with the company. They have a couple of other new announcements they had. We always try and include the car model guys. Or else Jeff will, one of our guests, Jeff will give me heck. So they have an AC/DC transport truck from their tour, when the band goes around touring. So they got a custom truck with a custom stickers and stuff like that. Their number one album, Rock or Bust. It was a tour truck. They designed it. It's one of these 1/32 scale. It even comes with some glue and paint. But they're calling it a limited edition. You even have a picture of Angus on the cover.
Well, that's fun.
So again, for those guys who are into that, looks like a very nice looking build. And then also the Antonov AN-225 Mira. This is the plane that was originally designed by the Russians to transport their space shuttle around. This is like a C5 Galaxy, but with 6 on steroids. We've had it. I remember this at the air show years ago.
You've seen this?
Yeah, I've seen this in London. We had, these days, mostly it's a company in the Ukraine that has most of them. Thing has 6 engines. This used to carry very, very big things. So, for example, years ago, I remember when GM Diesel in London was making engines, train engines, they actually transported one over to Ireland.
Okay.
And they brought this thing in, and this thing literally, they had to really make sure, this thing had literally less than a centimeter of clearance when they get the damn engine in. It was apparently a lot of fun, and of course it takes 2 days to strap it down firmly, because this is the kind of thing you don't want coming loose in flight. That would really spoil your day. But this is 1/144 scale, but it's still going to be a monster kit.
Yeah. It's the heaviest aircraft ever built at 640 tons.
Yeah, it's a big beast. So this is going to be, 583 millimeters in length, so 58 centimeters, 61 centimeters in width, €99. So again, this is another big boy.
Even in 1/144,
that's very large. But again, so again, and I know some people have been. This is one, again, some of the guys who are building these sort of planes, they've been waiting for. So, you haven't
coming out in December.
Coming out in December, so we got some dates there. Also moving on, again, to keep Jeff, shout out to Jeff from the car modeling guys.
And Steve, there's a couple
car guys. There's a few guys, exactly. There's some very, we had a lot of them at the show.
Yeah.
A lot of good Facebook groups and that. And a shout out to all of them. They were really, really good. Answered some questions. So AMT, they've got a garage accessory series. 2 sets coming out. One 125th, so it matches up. So like an old style garage, with the various tool things, gas cylinders, tools, the box of oil filters, a couple of guys working, your basic scene. Some car jacks, stuff like that. So perfect if you're making a diorama. So the first kit has that, and this kit number 2, it has a pop machine. It has another workbench. Looks like another engine hoist. All sorts of different things. A lot of good decals. So again, a way if you want to make a diorama. They even have decals of oil spills. I'm just looking at this here. So again, another great idea if you want to make a diorama, and you don't quite have the ability to build it all from scratch. So they're going to be reissuing this.
Those are a lot of fun, those diorama sets. They give you a lot of great things to play with. And
I found a shout out to AMT. They're really out there in terms of announcing what's happening and stuff that's in progress. Mm-hmm. They've also been working, I believe, with Polar Lights. So like they've been developing I think it's a 1/350th of the Klingon Katinga battle cruiser from Star Trek: The Next Generation. And they've been kind of showing the whole thing as it's been going. So they're keeping people, in the loop. Now, I guess they'll have to worry because if Wingnut Wings decides to come out with one, it could be.
And
I don't think we'll see that anytime soon. The Eagle, there was very, very popular. The Space 1990.
Yeah, that's I can't. That's just before my time.
Oh,
so I don't understand. Like I understand how the feeling people get about it, but I'm like, I've never seen this.
The show the show is on YouTube.
Yeah,
you can find it. Looking at it now versus through my 10-year-old lens when I was 10 and watching it, it's a bit campy, but there were some good stories. And again, when people just naturally, it's the British stuff. Jerry Anderson, stuff like that. He's the same guy that did Thunderbirds and all that. So the spaceships are always cool, and there's always been big fans. And I tell you, the feedback they've gotten when they re-release things.
Oh yeah.
But they also have some ready assembled ones, and they're re-releasing a Rescue Eagle. Okay. The first one they did a limited run of and this was expensive. It was pre-run.
Yeah, it was a bigger release.
Only 500, and they went like that.
Wow, no kidding.
So there's especially in Europe, there's a huge fan base.
Yeah, I noticed that people really gravitate towards that ship, and certainly when I was down at Wonderfest in 2016 and 2017, tons of those competed and entered
because they were all in.
Yeah,
people are,
and they have the different modules that
because you can have so you have basically so you'd have the modules. They'd have a passenger module. They have one that would be for loading the nuclear waste. And
there was a weapons package.
They actually had one. Well, that was a different spaceship. That was called the Hawk, and it was featured in one episode. And they are re-releasing that. That's one I hope to get one day.
Oh yeah.
Again, it was in one episode.
It's a beautiful bird, right?
It is. It is absolutely beautiful. So that's what's happening there from Revell. So we'll keep that looking up. Now, just another quick review, as I always do. I go through the scalemates.com, what's new section and what's hot section. If you don't know, check out scalemates.com. It's a user-submitted database of pretty well every modeling product known to man. And you can set up your own stash and stuff like that. But it's always neat, because I always like it because it kind of gives you a pulse of what's happening.
Yeah, so I often look through it as well.
Yeah, so again, a lot of people are obviously talking about the 2 different cranes we just talked about. We talked about the last show, the Panda Hobby High Mobility Engineer Excavator. 2 new ones I saw here, both from AFE Club. 2 variations of the Lockheed U2, 1/48 scale.
That'll be pretty big.
That's going to be big. That's that's very wide,
really long wingspan, didn't the U2?
Exactly. So that'll be interesting to see. Obviously, a lot of people talking about the 48 scale Tamiya F-14D. That's still getting a lot of people talking about that. So I often like it. It gives you a good pulse of what people are talking about. Obviously, the Walnut Wings is getting a lot of
wingnut.
Sorry, why do I do that? Yeah. That's not the first time I've done that. My apologies, Peter Jackson.
Peter, we love you.
Yeah, it's interesting now that I've also seen something here, just looking in the thing. This must be fairly new to TACOM, where they were originally going to release the crane on their own. Looks like there may be a limited edition, which is also going to include the Panther.
Oh yeah, so you get the set.
You get the set. So take that as you will. So yeah, a lot of stuff people are talking about. So it's all kind of neat to see. So that's what's happening there in the hot kit section. We're going to need another beer soon, I tell you. Anyway, okay, so now we're going to talk about you, Anthony, or maybe your business, Goodman Models. So having a hobby small business, or what's known as a cottage industry.
Yeah.
The internet now has provided, some amazing resources for the small builders, stuff like that, to be able to come and do that. Where before you'd have to advertise in the magazines, show up to the shows, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So why don't you give us a brief little intro?
Sure. Yeah.
I know regular listeners already pretty well know what this is, but let's give a brief intro of what Goodman Model is.
Sure.
What your main product is, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So my product is the super sanding blocks, and it's a set of hard sanders. Mm-hmm. Everybody has sandpaper, or they have flexible sticks, or those kind of products. There was no hard sander, and the hard sander works really well when you're trying to true up seam lines, or if you're shaping plastic because you're trying to scratch build a part or something of that nature. So it's my only product to date, mm-hmm. and I just put it under a banner of Goodman Models. So
why not?
And I was really, when I was struggling with my own builds and my own kits, and sometimes rolling over edges, or you'd be sanding something and you think it's great, and you blow the dust off and you're like, oh, it's a funny looking angle, and it's kind of all, it's all soft now and rounded. And so it really was trying to address that problem. And I know other people would have liked it, and they did.
Right.
And,
well, and again, I should state you did give me a review copy.
Yes, yeah.
For my own personal page, blackfire.ca, where I do an honest review, and it definitely fills the need. It's a great product for exactly what you say.
Yeah, and I think that if you look back, it's not unique. Other people have I know, like Paul Budzig, for example, who goes way back, and one of the editors of Fine Scale Modeler, he had a tutorial book, Make Your Own.
Make Your Own, yeah.
So really, the idea behind it was it's a convenience, right? Mm-hmm. You could make your own, or you could just
spend the $20.
Yeah, spend the money and then build your model that you really care about, you want to work on, right?
And I think this is the thing we talk about with the small cottage industries. A lot of time it's particularly on the tool side, it's filling a gap.
Exactly. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it that you could just go and pick up quickly, or mail, get it mailed to you. And so I thought, there's this opportunity, and I did want to do something. I do love tools,
right?
And I wanted to improve my own. Of course, I have ambitions about building stuff and getting better. And I wanted to make some money so I could, supplement my own hobby model
and
kit
that way
buying.
And that way you can be slightly badder and sneak them in the house without having to sneak
them. Or more tools, right?
Exactly.
I find it's all about the tools.
You're like me. You're a tool guy. You tend to go to the tool aisle first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I had some great interviews with some tool makers at the show.
Yeah.
Like Alpha Braces and Flexi Files and all that. And again, similar sort of concept. So you've been running it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna throw out some things. So what are some of the, let's say, what are the challenges you found, or things, something that you went in thinking I'm going to do something this way, and that completely was different once you dove in.
The whole thing was a really steep learning curve.
Okay.
And I think if I was trying to launch something, I'm wearing all the hats, right?
Yeah.
So trying to build this thing. You're trying to manufacture it and smooth out that process and make it better and source stuff. And there was just a lot of dots to connect. And you really just you finish one task, you cross something off the list, and you're like, okay, well, how do I do this? What's the next thing?
Right.
And so it's a lot of reaching out to people and just trying to organize and really think about it and refining the process and sort of doing something. And this doesn't work. Like, what can I do better? And trying to come up with something, and then streamline that and get it. So you're always refining the process a little bit.
And I think that's what you find. It's like, as you say, you're wearing all the hats. Yeah. Particularly these days, the marketing side.
That's the toughest part for me.
It is so huge. Yeah. Exactly. And if you don't, if it's not something, and it's something you have to learn. But in some ways, that's the advantage now, because someone like yourself now can. Facebook, the web. As I said, in the old days, you would have to put out some expensive ads in the various magazines.
Yeah.
Hope for the best.
I actually looked into. I of course it is really. I sort of based it from my Facebook platform, which is probably not the smartest thing to do, but it was easy and fast, and I could work it, and it was convenient, and I could do it. So I started there, and I always meant to branch out. And you in fact helped me out
a little bit.
Yeah,
some ideas.
And I put that on freeze because it's a side gig too, right?
Well, so, exactly, yeah.
And things are ever changing, and there's definitely going to be some new news coming up soon.
That's great. That'll be awesome.
A little teaser there.
So I think you more or less answered this already. But what made you decide to actually try making your own? What made you decide?
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, you just thought the idea would be cool.
Oh yeah, it's always been really intriguing about the other side
of the business.
Of the shop. And the manufacturing is really interesting, right? It's such a different thing. You're still crafting something. I always kind of envision myself as a craftsman, right? Or,
exactly.
A model maker, a craftsman, and I'm a tradesperson for my work, and it was really cool to be thinking about, well, how do they, you just go and buy a tool or you buy a kit, and so much has gone into that.
Right.
And what you asked about a surprising part, what's been really eye-opening is how challenging it is for all those vendors. And I've met a lot of vendors and reaching out, like trying to find people who are willing to carry the product or put it in their store or take a chance on it, do a review of it. And you really they have their own interests and concerns that they're trying to look after, right? And they're sort of wallowing through that ocean of stuff too now that we're all connected. And,
but I think you raise a good point, because for all the people that say the hobby's dying, I say
no, not at all. That's ridiculous.
I say no, it's changing with the time. When you look at particularly the number of, as we say, small cottage industries, we look at the number of kits coming out. It's changing. It's no longer necessarily a kid's hobby primarily. It's now definitely, there's that element is there.
Maybe it's too bad, right?
Well, in a way it is, but that element is still there. Yes. But they're also realizing there's people now, guys my age, guys your age, they've got a bit of disposable income. There's people out there that will drop a couple $100 on a kit in aftermarket.
Yeah,
and all the
I think more so, right?
Very much so.
I think the numbers were kept very low, probably back in the 70s and 80s, and maybe until Verlinden, right?
I think that was one of the
specialty aftermarket. It's like, listen, it's just a figure and it's made out of resin, and there's only a few copies, but you're going to pay $20 for it
because it's amazing and it's worth it. And I think as well, the rise of the internet, the rise of e-commerce, because it's given that ability. You don't longer have to go through a distributor.
I don't think
who may have a minimum order or whatever.
To be a little garage guy or cottage guy like I am now is totally made feasible by the.
And there's some amazing stuff coming out by, as you say, guys who work out of their garage. Nice little segue. So, what advice would you have for other people thinking of doing this sort of venture?
Absolutely. The best thing I can say, I think, from my own experience, is that you have to persevere. So if you have a good idea and you've thought about it, you want to carry through with it, there's going to be stumbling blocks, and there was tons for me, and there still continue to be challenges. And you have to be able to get out there and talk to people, I think, and that's, I did a lot of cold calling for trying to get a review, trying to get shops to carry it, talking to distributors, that type of thing. And even the actual customer, the person that you want to use that tool and hopefully enjoy.
Get them
and
out
have
there,
them,
exactly.
Have them pay for it and have them think it was worth it.
And I know you've been getting, you've said you've been at a lot of the shows in southwestern Ontario and the northeast U.S., and you're getting a lot of positive feedback.
Yeah, it's been great. And the other thing, too, is I think a lot of it is there is so much stuff out there. And sometimes you need to show people what will this do for you? What will this do for them? How
does it solve a problem?
Yeah. How is it beneficial? How does it make your experience a little more pleasing?
Exactly. And I think once you have the feedback, and I've heard this from other vendors or cottage people in the industry, is that's exactly it. They rely on feedback, and then something they might not realize. So if they do a version 2 or a new product, they'll adapt that. And again, the feedback, you can be much more immediate. And that's what's kind of nice too, where the bigger players, they have to order 6 months in advance from the plant in China. And that's what it comes out, where in theory, let's say, for example, you were getting a lot of feedback. Oh, I wish it was 2 centimeters wider. You could adapt pretty quick. In a lot of ways. So that's what's kind of nice about
Yeah, I'm sure the big guys have they must have some kind of testing or.
But still, I think it would take longer. Yeah, I'm sure they do. But let's say they get it out there. And
they get bad.
They're saying, "Can you do this?" It's not like they can just turn around on a dime.
It's harder.
You're as a smaller, as a smaller business, you in theory could be more agile.
Yeah. Although it is surprising. Once you set up this system, it can be a challenge to
sometimes
to
it can
change
be.
it up,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's like anything else. You have to new design, but at least you're able to do it. Quite often a little bit more.
Yeah.
So so as I said, definitely we're going to have the links. Check out. He's on Facebook right now at facebook.com/Goodman Models.
That's the place to find me. And
that's the place to find you. Website one day. I'll keep nagging them, folks.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. You never know what happens. But yeah, definitely the place. I've used the product. I have no problem in recommending it. And as I said, I have a standard. In fact, I've got to put one on the website, a recommendation policy. That, if it's something I didn't like, I wouldn't recommend it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, and
actually, you were one of my first. Reviews.
Yep.
And that was a really nice review. You did a great job putting that together. And
it was. I did exactly what I needed to do, and it solved the problem.
I've had a couple of great supporters. Justin down in Section 8 in Buffalo, which is an amazing hobby shop.
That's right, yeah.
That reminds me of what it was like when I was a kid. So
I remember when you were down there the first time.
Yeah.
You did a demo day.
I did a demo,
and you were very
really
impressed
fun.
with the shop. Yeah.
Oh, it's an awesome shop.
Yeah,
I really that is the place to.
And that's where you
go.
That's where you do it. Yeah, it's it's funny whether it's stuff like this. My wife's into knitting and spinning and that. They're small cottage.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the product. These days you can do it now.
Yeah,
people can do it, and you can often get ideas and things of that. So, all right,
it's been neat. It's been been a really great experience.
Good. Well, yeah, and I said, hopefully, you said we may have some news in future.
Yep.
I tried to pry it out of him. I had the thumb screws out, and it didn't work.
Now be careful. I don't want to pull an HK.
You don't want to pull an HK. You don't want. You don't want Wingnut to come out and beat you to the punch.
For sure.
Become nice little. That gets you some credit. Because people would go, "Who's this Goodman guy?"
Yeah, maybe, eh? Yeah, it gets you a little attention.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's move on. What's on the bench? With all this work, and I actually started a new job recently, I haven't had time to do anything.
It's tough, eh?
It's just between the new job, we had the show. We did a lot of stuff with that. I had a lot of video and stuff with that. So, yeah, I still got the Tamiya 135th Panther, the old school mold from 1970.
There's some charm to those old kits.
It's great.
Right?
It goes together well. I've got a build log at blackfire.ca. I've got a link. I do have an issue right now where I accidentally overstretched one of the tracks. It decided to split into 3 parts. That's all right. Yeah. I'm going to do a diorama. But, yeah, nice kit, gone together well. The Hasegawa F18A Hornet. That's going to be next on the bench. I've actually started. I've got some photos that I just need to post to my blog.
Is it going to be a Canadian version?
I think it's going to be. This one has the Canadian decals. I think I'm going to make this one a Canadian. I got a ton of old 172nd scale naval stuff, naval aircraft from way back.
Oh yeah.
A lot of it's old school. Like this mold goes back to the 80s, and they've actually made up to I think almost 50 variations using the same mold.
Oh yeah.
Mostly things just decals for the most part.
That sounds very just like the Valkyries.
Very popular kit. And they've got so many different. Again, if you go to ScaleMates and you'll see the history, like I've got the link on ScaleMates.
Yep.
That's what I love about ScaleMates
so many
too.
Variations.
You can see all the variations, and most of the time there's the odd new part. Usually, if they make it a 2-seater.
It's interesting to identify what was changed.
Mostly decals, maybe some extra weapons. This one here, they could convert to a 2-seater. I know they have. Yeah. Fairly easily. They just swap out one sprue. I remember someone a review about this. It's the same 4 sprues, and they just add the extras.
Yeah.
In and out. But
that's very interesting. Hasegawa's got it figured out because the VF1 Valkyrie, it's got to have 30 different releases.
Yeah, exactly.
With just extra decal sets.
The same idea.
And I've got a couple.
You've probably got a few of them.
They suckered me in too.
Yep.
Very well.
I've heard good things about it. I haven't really done much yet. The cockpit's very basic. And I'll be writing about that when I get some time. So how about you? What have you got on the bench?
I've had a great year. I actually took a little step back from working on the Goodman Models super sanding blocks, and I sort of just kept a low profile, and I've been getting some models done. It feels great. So I've got this. This is my first armor kit ever.
Very cool.
Which is
the armor guys will be very, very proud of the club.
It's an Academy, an early '90s Academy Malaysian IFV, and I'm doing it in UN peacekeeping force from Bosnia. that conflict in I think 1994, and I have some reference shots. It was hard to come up with anything, but not a bad kit, but also not a super modern kit. But I decided to do the interior because why not
it looks
make
like
it?
You got the interior there.
Yeah, why not make it incredibly hard on myself when I first
why
go
not,
around? Right?
Exactly. You're gonna do it. I went the other way, but whatever works.
So I was the only kit I ever had. I bought it because it was white, right? Not being a huge armor.
White,
I thought it was unique and interesting, and I did finish the interior. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, I've just taken a picture of it, so we'll include that in the show.
And I'm just working on. I did the tracks up, and that was like I have never built tracks before.
So those individual link tracks, yeah.
Yeah, I remember I had to call up Don and
Don
one of our guys, our armor guy, and say, so how do you build tracks?
I know. I did a Sherman Firefly.
I remember that one
last year, and that one apparently I picked the wrong kit to start with. The wrong tracks to start with my first time.
Yeah.
They were very frustrating when the guys told me about that.
Yeah.
I've got a few other armor kits in the pipe that will have some. And there's a technique. I think it's like what us aircraft guys hate about masking canopies.
Yeah.
It's
you have to go through it.
You gotta plow through it.
You have to go through it and sort of mess it up.
Yeah.
And then figure out
figure out a way that works. Yeah. Like I ended up building a jig. And that's what I'd probably do the next time. Actually in the end for the Sherman Firefly ones, I got so frustrated I ended up buying AFE, the vinyl. Yeah.
Okay.
No. I just bought the vinyl tracks.
Okay.
Bronco made them.
Oh, Bronco.
And it was a modern vinyl, so it would glue together.
Yeah. Nice.
That was fine for me. It just saved me. I was getting very frustrated.
These weren't too bad. Yeah. I did use a jig, and they had pits. So if you know the M113 track, it has a rubber tread right in the middle, and of course on this kit, the molding had a nice sinkhole in the middle, so I had to kind of put the putty in each one, and sand about 50 of them, and then glue them, and so they were on the edges that showed, and
it's hilarious. Some guys love it. It's like some guys love putting the fiddly photo edge.
I didn't mind it.
Yeah,
and then I used my my Flory model clay washes to do some weathering on them, and then now I'm just back to doing the exterior.
Yeah, it's looking good. Yeah. So what else do you have here? Yeah. I think you have some. Looks like some Gundams.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Gundam fan, and the next one is almost done. I'm just mounting it up, and I put some lights in it, and I'm trying to hide the battery in the foot.
Okay.
So I'm just playing with that, and it's on a base.
And what's that one called?
This is the Rickdom from a series from the late '80s called 0080. War in the Pocket.
Okay.
It's a classic sort of Xeon, heavy attack mobile suit.
It looks like it looks like he's a bit pissed about something.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, yeah. And what's the other one you got there?
This is a really interesting one.
Yeah.
So this is a passion project from long ago.
Okay.
So it is it's the GM Sniper Custom 2.
Okay.
From the same series, 0080.
Okay.
And the only way, there was no kit of it. There was a base kit that was a similar, like a variation, right? And you could, back a long time ago, you could get from B Club a resin conversion kit to make this particular variant. And I think it shows up very briefly in the animation, like for 10 seconds or something like that.
So, of course, someone's got to make a conversion kit.
And, like, why is that my favorite design of all time,
normal,
right?
That's normal.
So, no kit. So, I'm like, all right, I'm going to scratch build one. And I worked on it, and it was going very well. And then I think I took about 10 years off from modeling.
Right.
And I was in school and getting married and doing this all, playing
Girls
in a band.
And cars.
Yeah.
Girls and cars.
Yeah, sort of like that. And so I picked it back up, and lo and behold, they actually kit it and they put it out.
That's
cool. I've got 3 of them sitting in the closet. They're beautiful.
Right.
But, I kind of, when I really got hot and heavy back into model building, and I was back at the club, I pulled it out and thought, you know what, this actually has really great proportions. They match my interpretation of the designer. I'm going to keep going on it. And so I've been doing that, and it was half, I'd say 60% done, so it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I'm really getting into it.
Right.
And, the hardest part was the head. It has this sliding visor. And I had basically done everything else. I scratch built or modified. It was like a real solid conversion.
Okay.
And except for the head, and I was always really never had a good
And so I just opened up one of the boxes and stole the head.
Stole the head. Well, that means a diorama possibility later. So we'll actually take a picture of those, and we'll throw them in as well.
I'll show you one of the base kits so you can sort of see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll do that for the photo. So so that's what's on the bench.
Yeah, lots happening here.
All right. So sites and tips. With all this other news, I really only had time to fund one site, and this is actually a very oldie and a goodie from Goodman Models, and this goes back actually 2005. I can't believe that. This is a great product from Mr. Hobby, Mr. Surfacer. Most of you folks probably know what it is.
I hope so.
I would hope so. But if you don't, you're going to thank us later. This is a great, it's a filler. Some people use it as a primer.
Yeah, primer.
It stinks to high heaven. We can all agree on that.
You got to have a spray booth.
You got to have a spray booth and a mask because it's very hot. It's very, very hot. But they have a bunch of different varieties. Now, the original link here had 3 different brands. They also have a Mr. Surfacer. I think it's 1500 in black now.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Is it 1500 in black?
I can have that one.
I've got one there too, yeah. So basically, the higher the number, the more finer the grit, we would say.
Yes.
So again, some people have used this as a primer. They use
it's a wonderful primer. Yeah.
Okay.
I still thin them.
Yeah.
With Mr. Color Leveling Thinner.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a wonderful primer. It's great.
Right.
The 1500 is amazing, and there's also a white. It's called Mr. Base White 1000.
Okay.
And then there's the traditional gray that you've seen, and
right.
I think the 1200 is probably
I have the 500 and the 1000, and I use it a lot for filling in gaps.
Yeah,
it's very good for that.
I use the 500 the same way. It's very thick, and I actually think I got my 500 in Japan, so it's at least 10 years.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's really thick, but I will kind of spoon it out with like a little an old screwdriver, like a flathead screwdriver, or like some other kind of implement, and use it to do gap filling.
Right.
But I've noticed on occasion that sometimes I get a little bit of shrinkage.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and it just means that I'm trying to go a little heavier, but
a little bit too much. You're right. Yeah. Sometimes it's like anything else, like coats. I know other people use it for textured surface.
Absolutely.
I know some people have used
stippling like cast iron textures,
that sort of thing.
Armor.
Exactly.
It's wonderful. For
exactly. That. So the link here from Goodman Model. All this stuff. It's 15 years old. It still applies. It's
still great.
Yeah, it's all fabulous. I guess most people use lacquer thinner for cleanup.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Some people use. Yeah, I don't tend to. That's about the only what I call the smelly oil-based stuff that I use in the house.
Yeah.
I have a spray booth in that. Just I'm a big fan of the non. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this stuff works well. Yeah. Spray booth. Wear a mask. Wear a spray booth. Safety first. So that's a good product. So check that out. Goodman Models also is an awesome website in general. He's been around for years.
This is great. I'm being introduced as
some of this old school stuff is really good.
Yeah, you get a lot out of it, I find.
You do. There's a lot of good stuff that's out there. Okay, upcoming events. We're just going to cover one. This is one in our local area in southwestern Ontario. Air Cadet Con 5 is actually this Saturday. So I'm hoping to have the podcast out by Friday or Saturday morning. So hopefully, if you're hearing about this, you'll still be able to run down. It's in Kitchener, I believe, is it not?
Yes.
Kitchener, yeah, that's right, yeah.
I think it's not 5, though, Stuart.
Sorry.
I think we're up to...
What are we up to?
Sorry, I
want
to say it's 7.
It's 7? Okay, I just remember we were talking and you mentioned 5.
Yeah.
So I will put 7.
5.
You've actually been to it. So why don't you give us a little description? Because it's a little bit different than your average IPMS show.
Yeah, it's definitely different than the ones I'm used to participating in, and I heard of it sort of off the cuff for number 5, like you were mentioning there, and it was a smaller show, and it's not part of the IPMS official sort of system,
right.
And but it's in fact a fundraiser for the Tudor Squadron cadets,
local air cadets.
Yeah, and it's I think it's the 822 Squadron.
Okay,
and it's actually held in their training building.
Okay.
And it was very different. They actually had, it was quite small, so sometimes people sort of thumb their nose, it's not worth going to. But it was very different, and I really enjoyed that. So I vended at the show, I entered the contest, met a lot of great people. But what was really cool about it was that the cadets do ceremony, like in honor of the Canadian military forces.
Okay.
And our fallen soldiers as well as people.
Because we're getting close to Remembrance Day, so it's perfect.
Yeah. And they have a pipe and drum band that did a performance the 1 year and a little ceremony. And I thought that was really neat. It was very, kind of was close to home.
Right.
And add another, something different. Something involved those kids in that. And it was neat. Cool. The kids are the judges, right? So they kind of
that's awesome.
You throw out all the IQS rules that you know. And
that's cool.
It was neat because they just look at, what's appealing.
Right. And we've actually had some local air cadet groups. We've had them doing demos, or like we had some demos at our tables this year for our show in London. So and it's always, a lot of us, that's how we started. So it's a good one to support. I'm hoping to pop into that. I've got a previous engagement that day, but I'm hoping it's just a little bit further down the road from the other engagement with my wife.
It's definitely a great
it's something I definitely want to check out. And if I can, I'll take the camcorder and we'll do all the other good stuff. Okay, so we're just about to wrap it up. So as usual, don't forget to subscribe. Let us know if you have any comments or suggestions. You can send me an email at scalemodelpodcast@gmail.com. We roughly record bi-weekly. We're available where your favorite podcasts are found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. I'm going to add some more in future. We do have a Facebook page, just like Goodman Models, except we're at facebook.com Scale Model Podcast. And I've also just started a YouTube channel. So what I'm hoping to do there is eventually I'll have copies of the podcast, but also I find when I'm out and about, I get a lot of good video stuff. And, some of it I can put in audio, but sometimes there's something about video. So, for example, I was at the model show 2 weeks ago in London, met a couple of vendors. Again, you'll actually be able to, within a week or so, I'll have the video I had with my guest here, Anthony. So you'll actually be able to see why he has a face for radio, just like me. Just kidding. But you'll actually be able to see his product there and stuff like that. It was, the goal is there to have some bonus content. And I've got a link there. Once we get enough subscribers, I can actually put a branding URL on. You have to have for YouTube, it's a random set of numbers for your YouTube channel. It's not like Facebook where you can do it right away.
Yeah.
Until you get 100 subscribers, then you can customize it. So
I'll definitely be
by all means, like, subscribe, and all that. There's some good stuff there. So, Anthony, anything else you feel we've...
Wow, that was great. Thanks for having me, Stuart. Really appreciate it. It's always fun to chat.
Thank you for hosting me here, and always a good time. We'll have to definitely have you on again to talk about Gundams and things like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Cars and Gundams, I know they move.
The hobby.
I know, apparently they're saving the hobby. I know they're giant fighting robots, and the car guys are the car guys. So you gotta love them. So we'll go from there. So for the Scale Model Podcast, episode 6, my name is Stuart Clark.
And I'm Anthony Goodman.
Thank you, and be well.